Hello and welcome back to Man v Film. We are going to be looking at another collection of mines. This time is 101 Films range. Now we've got a bunch of movies from them and all the Black Label movies which we're going to go through. I really kind of like the Black Label range, so I'll focus on that first. Most of these, with the exception of one, I've already reviewed on the channel, so you'll be able to find it within the 101 review playlist. So first up, in this collection, number one is The Grifters, which is a wonderful movie by Stephen Frears, all about con people. I love these kind of movies, particularly this one with the characters. I think they're all perfectly played. They're all really kind of horrible-ish people who kind of get you kind of warm to in some aspects, but the way they make their living, you kind of hate them at the same time. It's a terrific movie. If you've never seen The Grifters, you are sorely missing out. Next up, the first of two Cronenberg movies in the Black Label range already is Existence. Now, this is one that I've seen a few times. I really like Existence. Jude Law, and as a... well, is he not? He's a person that gets plugged into a game and almost like a virtual reality where they are playing the video game within their mind, and nothing is what it seems. Everything's a little bit gross and twisted. There's a gun made out of body parts, which is just horrific, which fires bullets in the shape of well, they're not the shape of, they are teeth. It is horrific and typical Cronenbergian, and it's one that I really enjoy. It doesn't get as much notoriety as it should, I feel. Next up, number three in the range is Roller Coaster. This was one that I hadn't seen before, and I utterly loved this one. It's a 70s disaster movie where basically someone is holding theme park owners to ransom by putting bombs on their roller coasters. So you've got a time scale of a bomb about to go off. You've got these guys trying to stop it. The main guy can't really be bothered. There isn't really interested in being part of this, but is kind of roped in by the bomber. It was just brilliant, really exciting, fun stuff. A true classic movie, one that I raved about when I did my review, one that I think everybody should check out. Number four is Black Book by Paul Verhoeven. Now, this movie's just beautiful, absolutely stunning. The images are terrific, and it feels much like a typical, well, it doesn't feel typical. It looks and masquerades almost like a Hollywood movie, but the way it tackles its story is much different. You know, it has more weight to it. It has shocks to it. Whereas you would expect certain things to happen in a Hollywood movie, they don't happen here, or they happen in the most opposite way that is truly shocking to you. Black Book, if you haven't seen it, you need to. Next up, one of my personal guilty pleasures in the Black Label range, and that is Trespass. I jumped on this one as soon as it came out because I love this movie. I used to rent it all the time way back in the VHS days when I used to go to the video store. I just think it's brilliant. Walter Hill directs this one. It's about two firemen that stumble across a map leading them to gold. They go to this downtown abandoned part of town where they see a gangland killing, and the gang basically are chasing after them for the rest of the movie. It's simple, it's expertly done, and I love it. Number six in the Black Label range is The Cooler, starring William H. Macy as a sad sack, a kind of role that he plays really well, and he is someone that drains all the energy out of people. He works for a casino, and whenever somebody's on a hot streak, he just goes, talks to them, stands next to them for a little while, and watches as their luck somehow immediately runs out. Alex Baldwin is the head of the casino, and he's a kind of threatening Baldwin character here. He hires someone to sleep with Macy's character to give him a bit of a boost or whatever, but he falls in love and loses his ability to jinx people. It's really good. Next up, we've got Class of 1984, which is a kind of punk movie all about this school where this gang can seemingly get away with whatever they want. A new teacher starts there and gets instantly picked upon, and the teacher's picked upon by the leader of a gang who is quite an intelligent character. Even though he's borderline psychotic, he's smart enough to really make it look as if the teacher's got a grudge in for him. It's a really kind of good movie, kind of shocking in the way some of it plays out as well, and pretty accurate, in my opinion. Another absolute cracker of a movie, number 8 in the collection, Howard the Duck. Do I really need to say anything else about this movie? Produced and really pushed on by George Lucas, this was a complete and utter failure. It's one of those kind of movies that's aimed at kids. That is truly horrifying. It's got some horrible imagery in here, a lot of it with Jeffrey Jones later on in the movie. I like Howard the Duck. I'm one of those few people that love it. There you have it. Arguably one of the biggest titles in the Black Label range is the only one I haven't seen. It's one that I probably should have seen. I don't know why I haven't watched it yet. I don't know why I've never seen it. It's something I'm going to have to rectify. Number 10 in the Black Label range is Skinner. Skinner stars Ted Raimi as a serial killer who likes to skin his victims. And this was a kind of low budget horror back in the early 90s. I really like this one a lot. There's a moment late on in the movie where Raimi comes out with a kind of disguise on, shall we say, of a co-worker, and it was truly shocking, giggle inducing, and just ultimately WTF. I really like this one. Number 11 in the Black Label range is Prom Night. Prom Night has Jamie Lee Curtis. It's a disco slasher. There is a fantastic dance sequence in the middle of this one. A really kind of twisted ending to this. And yeah, if you like slasher movies and you haven't seen this, why the hell not? Number 12 in the Black Label range is Phase 4, Saul Bass's only directorial movie, and if you haven't seen this one, you are missing out on a massive bunch of sci-fi weirdness. In the desert, there are these scientists monitoring things when suddenly ants start to react very differently than how they normally would. They seem to have a hive mind, they're super intelligent, and they are fighting back against their human counterpoints. It really needs to be seen to be believed. Number 13 is Screamers, Paul Weller's other sci-fi classic, if you ask me. It came out in the mid-90s. It has some decent special effects, and it has some really rather ropey special effects. It's all about a planet inhabited by two warring factions, humans who are there fighting over a mineral. They've released these robotic sentinel devices into the ether, and now they're coming back to haunt them and take them down. It's just kind of silly genre fun, really. Next up, we have The New Kids, which is a 1980s movie directed by Sean S. Cunningham. Any horror fan will know who that is. This one stars Lori Loughlin and James Spader. Now, James Spader plays the bleached blonde bad guy in this, and he is bloody horrible. Just one of those characters that you just can't stand when you're watching it. Just a complete antagonistic nature, wanting to just piss everybody off or just rub their face in it. He is truly horrible. This is just about two kids whose mother and father pass away. They're sent to live with a relative, an uncle, go to a new school, and just get picked on because they're new. It's the kind of thing most people can relate to. Number 15 is Split Second. Now, I've got 2 copies of this, both from 101 Films, as you'll see in a little moment. And I love this one. It's a 90s kind of serial killer monster movie. It's the partnership between the 2 leads. Rutger Hauer's always excellent, but his partnership with his new partner that he's given in the movie is just downright hilarious. The turn from that character to a Hauer-like character later on is just brilliant. The monster stuff is really, really good as well, and it's just a whole lot of. Number 16 is Brain Dead, and this is a really, really wacky movie. We've got Bill Pullman, Bill Paxton, Bud Cort. Bill Pullman is a man who's dealing with brain technology, working on it. He's asked to do something, go into the mind of somebody to try and get some information, kind of Inception-like, and it just becomes a fever dream of weird and wacky images. It's one of those movies that you will know pretty soon after you've started it whether you are on board for this one or not. I really enjoy it. I like the weirdness, the kind of dream logic that happens within the movie. Even the ending, everything was just particularly my brand of weirdness. Number 17 is The Silent Night, Deadly Night, parts 1 and 2. It's got the sort of numbers there. And I love these movies. I think they're a lot of the extras on the discs are really worthwhile, but I feel that The Silent Night, Deadly Night is possibly my favourite release from the Black Label range. It's got 2 making of documentaries on each of the discs, along with countless other extras. I think the films are just incredibly fun. The first one is a really dark, horrible, perfectly good companion piece to say, look, Joker, the creation of a madman and what makes him turn that way. The second one uses a lot of footage from the first one, which is fair enough because it's good footage, and then creates a more kind of comical creation of a bad guy, which I think is funny, quirky, weird, trashy, sleazy, all the kind of things that I really enjoy. So that's the Black Label range. I'm going to move on to some other movies that I've got from 101 Films. If you like these kind of videos and you're still here watching me ramble on about my Blu-ray collection and you feel like supporting the channel, why don't you pop over to Patreon where you can support me for $1 a month. You do 1 month, do 20 months, do whatever you want. Just showing your support is making me happy and allows me to run this channel. Now let's move on with some other movies. From the Cult collection, we've got Stuart Gordon's Dolls. There was a spate of movies, thanks to, well, in the late 80s, early 90s, where it was all killer dolls. I liked most of them. Some of them just were there just to capitalise on a kind of subgenre that was doing well. Stuart Gordon, great director. If you're a genre fan, you'll know exactly what he's made. And I think Dolls is just a really fun flick. One that I picked up recently, I've not watched again as yet, is Three Amigos. I remember loving this one. I remember it being ridiculously funny and silly. I loved the partnership of the 3 characters, and who are more than just famous, they're infamous. And I'm a little bit worried about checking it out. It's one of those movies that I've got such a rich nostalgic feeling for that I don't want to ruin it by going back to the movie and discovering that it doesn't quite hold up to my memory. Maybe you guys can let me know if it does or not. Another one that I haven't seen, picked up, I still got the price on it, £4, which is The Island of Dr Moreau. Now, I've seen the one that came out in the 90s. I seen that in the cinema. It was me. I was the person that went and saw it. And that was bonkers. And I just thought I'd like to see another retelling of it. I've seen The Island of Lost Souls, which was kind of the first iteration, and I just thought I'd round out the makes of this story by checking this one out at some point. Picked up a while ago in that Split Second, which I talked about because I've got the other version. I got a couple of movies that were sent to me by a friend recently, Paige, thank you, who sent me AWOL, otherwise known as Lionheart. I love AWOL. It's such a silly premise, and it sticks to the good points in Van Damme movies, you know. You want to see him fighting, so this gives you plenty of fighting sequences, and they're all done in really brilliant locales, whether it be a half-drained swimming pool or a car park or wherever. You get all these bad guys to fight against that are just awesome. You get a little bit of a story with Van Damme's character trying to raise money for his niece so that she can just live her life and things like that. It's just a wonderful 90s action movie. Next up is Black Eagle. Not seen this one in years. I know Van Damme's the bad guy in it. I can't remember a thing about it. Again, Paige sent me this one, so I'm going to check it out at some point. You know what? I'm just going to rejig these. I'll leave my two favourites to the end. Some more recent pickups. Plunkett and McLean, directed by Jake Scott. Yeah, Ridley Scott's son, I think it is. And this was one of those movies where it's set in the olden times, but everybody talks in a modern fashion. It was just highway robbers. I remember kind of liking it. I had it way back when DVD was just starting out. It was one of those like jewel case things. I've got it still lying about somewhere, and I wanted to revisit it. Got it in their sale. The 101 film sale was always ridiculously cheap, you know, £5-6 a movie. Keep an eye out for them. One that I picked up because it just sounded fun, and it had Dirk Benedict in it, Face from the A-Team, and that is Snakes. I like snake movies. I'm in. I don't know anything else about that one. I thought I'd check it out. Next up, one I haven't seen in years, and that is the uncut version of Exterminator 2. I think I've got Exterminator in the Arrow collection somewhere. I remember this being rented from the video shop way back in the 80s and just loving the hell out of it. And yeah, that's about it. So I've got two more titles here, and these are two of my favourite releases from 101 Films, and I can strongly recommend both of these ones, and the transfers are great, the extras are wonderful. If you're a collector like me, you need to have these in your collection. So first up is Black Christmas, Bob Clark's movie, which if you don't know anything about, you're missing out. Don't take the latest remake as anything to do with this at all, because it's got nothing to do with it. This is all about a group of sorority sisters stuck in a house, plagued by funny phone calls as they are slowly picked off one by one. It is often championed as the sort of first proper iteration of a slasher as we know them, and it's just a downright fantastic movie. And it's the way it delves into some of its subplots as well. There's one about a relationship that's breaking down, which shows that it's got a little bit more to it than some of the typical slashers. It's actually challenging certain topics and subjects throughout the movie as well. And next up, one that, again, you have to have this in your collection because it's bloody brilliant, and that is Alien Nation. You've got James Caan and Mandy Patinkin, and it's basically aliens came down to Los Angeles, and they became just part of the community. They're kind of subjugated. We've got the first ever law enforcement detective who's working with James Caan. You've got these two characters bouncing off each other, trying to track down criminals. It's got so many quirks about it. It's just brilliant. I like the pairing of these two characters. You've got Terence Stamp as the bad guy. It's a terrific cast. It's often threatened to be remade at some point. It's going to happen at some point soon. I even loved the TV series that came in the mid-90s. I thought it was wonderful. So Alien Nation, if you haven't seen that, if you haven't even heard of it, check it out. It's basically a police procedural. In fact, what was that Netflix movie with Will Smith? That was a pretty much a remake of it. But yeah, Alien Nation, amazing. So there we have it. That's my complete 101 Films range. There's a few titles that I still need to get that I really want to pick up. I should do it soon, particularly in their sale. They've got some great deals. There's Truck Turner I need to get, and Firewalker, things like that. They've got so many other ones I need to pick up as well. But there we have it. That's a small sample of my 101 range movies. If there's things there that I didn't know anything about that you want to enlighten me a little bit about, feel free to let me know. And I'll see you next time on Man v Film.